Aloha and welcome back to the House Minority segment of Live at the Legislature. I'm Kaeo, your host for the House Minority. And today joining us is the ever illustrious Representative Gene Ward. He represents Hawaii Kai to Kalama Valley and serves as a member of the House Pandemic Preparedness or Assistance or Disaster Preparedness Committee.
One of those.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Kaio. Good morning, and thank you, Alelo, for getting up early and slating us, putting us right front and center in front of the people, live as it is. You froze. Your face is frozen.
Can you see me, Rep. Ward?
Okay, now I can see you. I can see you and hear it. It's just kind of like the Mizuno thing. Alelo, you guys got anything against the House? The Senate went perfect, and now the House is scuttling itself. Okay.
It might be, this was probably a good segue into my first question. So yesterday we had the State of the State, and Governor Ige had mentioned the future of a digital economy, of a state broadband and a department that would help with digital equity, he said. So did you have any thoughts after the speech, specifically with the digital economy proposition?
A very important question. Thank you for that, Kaio, because I had a before and after. The before was, and I think it's the way the senator and Mizuno tried to do, where we show there's light at the end of the tunnel. I wanted to see timelines and hope. I commend the governor. He used the word hope 5 times, 4 times in the beginning, 1 at the end. Because if people don't have hope that we're going to get through the pandemic, that we're going to open the economy, that we're going to throw a lifeline to the small businesses, and we're going to balance the budget, it's like, what are you guys doing there? So I thought he was going to be like a coach at halftime, where he kind of pumps them up and says, look, you guys did this right, you did that wrong, and we've got to go and we got to do a better job. You do this, that, and the other thing. And one of the things that came out, specific to your question, is let's get Hawaii into the digital economy. That's something that my office has tried to do for many, many years. I tried to get the Silicon Valley guys to relocate here and do long distance out of the San Francisco and the portal there in Silicon Valley. But that didn't seem to work. And there was one other hang up to what the governor was saying. And that's when President Lasner of the University of Hawaii was the head of the broadband task force a number of years ago, of which I was a member. And the problem, Kaio, and those listening, is that we don't have the infrastructure. And there was not a willingness on Hawaiian Tel or the cable companies, Spectrum, I think it was before Spectrum, they didn't want to invest the money. And President Lasner basically said, you know why Korea is 5-6 times faster than us? Is because they have government investment in putting in these infrastructure pieces. Since then, wireless technology has gained preeminence, and it's cheaper, but it's still expensive. So we still don't even have the coverage. If you're living in certain parts of the state, you don't really get the advantage of what the governor is talking about. So it's a good turn, but we've got to commit ourselves to diversification of the economy. And you know, I've been talking about Hollywood of the Pacific. It's a natural $1 billion thing of which pays high-paying wages, and we just kind of sat on our hands. So I hope the governor does something other than put it out there and then just let it rest and get dust on the shelves.
Is now the time to invest in that, Rep. Ward? Is it a better use of money than filling the capital pools, perhaps?
Oh, good question. The capital pool is 30 billion. For those of you listening who wake up to hear Live at the Legend, I don't know how many there are, and maybe Stanford will tell us someday. $30 million to fill in the pool, which since it was built in 1969, has been a thorn in the side in the budget of the state of Hawaii. That pool smells and is often rancid, growing weeds, and we're going to put $30 million in it. Because specific to your question, do we have the money to build infrastructure in the digital economy? The problem is we have not heard the hope of how we're going to fill the budget. I think Representative Mizuno earlier was trying to say that, you know, we're going to take away special funds, we're going to not fill positions that are empty, and positions that are empty we're not going to fill, or for those who retire. We've got the rainy day fund. We should know specifically what we're going to do, and when there are timelines to say, you know, we're going to get out of this in 3 or 4 years, because we've got about $1.5 billion per year for 4 years that we know of. So any money this session, we're going to be tighter than a screw on a rusty ship to get money out of the legislature. And I'm not talking to you, if you're a lobbyist or whatever, maybe Life at the Ledge gets all of those with self-interest watches. It's going to be tight, 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 and money is going to be really, really scarce. And I'm hoping that we can get the economy moving, because if we don't open the economy, we're dead in the water. And we are now dead in the water with the highest unemployment and the highest level. In fact, we don't even have the unemployment insurance position out there that we should. We should have we're still getting, we're still getting calls. I haven't got my UI yet. That's really, really embarrassing. But my point is, let me just not say we got to open the economy. Here's how we should open the economy. It's called TV. It's called testing and vaccinations. Testing is what we've got with Oceanit, what we've got with a 10-minute test for $20. We start doing double testing, for example, in the school, so the kids can go to school and they're not afraid the teacher's going to give it to them. The teacher's not afraid the kids are going to give it to them. But we vaccinate those guys, and it's not rocket science that eventually you cordon off and you push this pandemic on the ash heap of history. Until people are secure going to work and they know they're safe through testing and vaccinations, we're going to be twisting around and explaining, and then we go back and we change the rules. Oh, you're tier 1, no, you're tier 2. People are getting fed up. They want to get back to normal, and that's what we got to do during this session, Kyle.
And we got about 2 minutes left. So on the topic of diversifying the economy, you've said previously that we've been, living off our good looks for too long. Is there anything?
We're still using our brains. Exactly. Living off our good looks, we got to use our brains now. And that's what I commend the governor for saying, let's get digital. But let's get smart with our we could be the Hollywood of the Pacific. It's potentially $1 billion industry. And we're sitting on our hands saying, well, we're going to let Georgia and Kentucky outbid us because we don't want to give up any money. Well, for every dollar we spend for those guys, we get about $4 back. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket science to know that that's a strategic advantage. The point is, we got to grow the pie. Right now, everybody's mind in the legislature, we got to cut the pie up in smaller pieces. You don't get any, you get some. We got to grow the pie, which means diversification, economic development, and entrepreneurial thinking. Like stadium, we got to get naming rights so we can get 40 to 60, $100 million. We're not on our toes in terms of business savvy.
And so last question for about the last minute we have. Civil Beat published an article about the Progressive Caucus, and I believe the guest on our last segment is a member of that. So do you foresee the Progressive Caucus having a big influence this year, or should the establishment Dems feel threatened by this new wave?
You saved the Tabasco question, the chili pepper one for last. If I can make some summary statements, to me, socialism and what drift that the progressives are going in is basically Marxism with lipstick on it. That is the existential threat, I think, of American democracy. Giving power from the people to the government. People kind of forget our beginnings, that we are individuals. We're not the collective government run. And if you look at the history of socialism, and look, I'm not saying you guys got to read it, but if you look what happened with Yugoslavia and how the special class, the new class, was those who run the government are the ones who get all the privileges. So for those of you who want to get, and there's a bill right now for $27 for minimum wage. Well, this is some of the mindset of some of these guys. Some people should listen to this. You want to get a minimum wage of $27? Okay, knock out all the small businesses that are already trying to survive. That is how dangerous some of this stuff is. But hopefully these younger progressives can realize and reason that, hey, what's best for the state of Hawaii is not just their ideology. We've got a better and a bigger purpose than just theirs.
Well, we've got a lot of weeks to in this marketplace of ideas. So Representative Ward, thank you for joining us this week. And thanks again to the staff at Olelo for organizing all this. For the folks at home, we will see you next week. Aloha.
Thank you, and aloha.
gonna be late for work.
It's Tuesday morning. I gotta record live at the Legislature on Alelo. Senate and House leadership discussing what's happening at the state capitol.
So just watch it on the news tonight. Come on, let's go.
Hey, this is like getting the news before it's news. If only I could get this remote to work.
There. Can we go now?
No DVR? No problem. Watch Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. on Channel 49.